Howdy, folks. Welcome to tutorial 4. We are in week 3. This will be week 3 and 4 that we're doing for tutorial 4. I first wanted to start with a little file management and visual code to make sure you know how to use it, okay? So I have my documents saved in my OneDrive folder, okay? So this is just from my PC right here. So I go to this PC. Well, I can look over here and there's a navigation bar. And I know that I've saved my items in my OneDrive. Your pictures are here, your documents, things like that. You can actually click Local C. You can find your program files, users, Christy, and then here's my OneDrive. Your downloads are there. So there's different ways you can get different places. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my OneDrive folder. Now I just happen to know where I've saved them. This is our program ID, okay, and then I have a folder specifically for this class, Web 210, okay, and then I'm not going to open the solution files. Student data files is what we're looking for in HTML01, and then there's my tutorial. So I'm going to come over here, and this is Visual Studio. I'm going to say File, Open Folder, and then I'm going to navigate over here just like I did over there. So I'm in my OneDrive. This is my program ID. We're going to scroll down to Web 210, Student Data Files for Tutorial 4, and I'm going to select Tutorial and select Folder. Now you can see this is every file that I have in here. I can have that navigation go away. And so for right now, I'm just going to close this window because right here I'm working within that tutorial folder. Okay, it's just a navigation right here. We can add a new file. We can collapse folder in the Explorer if we wanted to. Open editors. So now you can see our tutorial folder. And then if we have different editors, you can see this has got my TB back for PNG in it. If I close this, I have nothing in my open editor. So I went to that and clicked open editors. Then you can see my tutorial folder and I can expand that and there's all of my files. Okay. So now when you go to transfer these files, if we need to make a new file, we can just do new file and we will just call it example.txt. Okay. And you can see right here in Visual Code, it gives you a little symbol of what the file is, and I'm going to press enter. Well, it's going to save in the same place now because I'm working in that folder. Okay, so this is my Web 210 folder. This is just a frequent folder view. I'm going to go to my student data files, HTML04, tutorial, and right there's that example, TXT. Okay. So just make sure that you know where your folder is. Once you know where your folder is within the Explorer window, you'll know whether or not you're saving your right folder files to that folder and things like that. But I think using visual code will help you out a little bit too because you have a visual as you're working through the tutorial. So let's set our view up. In this, I'm going to close my example here so nothing's open. In tutorial 4, we're going to create a figure box, add a background image, add a border to an element, create rounded borders, create a graphic border, and create text shadow. Create a box shadow, create linear and radial gradients, set the opacity of an element, apply 2D and 3D transformation, apply a CSS filter, and create an image map. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, this is a visual overview that we always look at before we get started. Let me open up what the page is going to look like. Well, it's got it right here. So this is the page that we're going to work on. All right. So there's a TB_back PNG file that is tiled. Okay. We'll look at that when we go look at the CSS code to see how to do that, to fill the element background. Okay. So this is the element background, the HTML element, because you can see that this is the body of the page, right? The background image TB_back4 covers the entire article's padding. So if we go and look into the CSS file, we'll know that this part right here is the article, okay? The background image is placed at the lower left corner of the article. There probably might be used in absolute positioning or something like that on that, so we'll have to look. The border image is based on a TB border PNG file on this picture, okay? There's an aside element that has rounded corners with a radius of 30 pixels, so we'll learn how to make that. The aside pixel has a 4 pixel wide double border. You can barely see it in this one, but you'll see it when we get into it. And then the background image of the elderly man down here is placed on the right corner of the article. So we're going to see how we can position those images in the article where they stay where they're supposed to. Okay, so let's just look over here. The background image applies an image file to the element background. So there's your HTML. Remember, that's that whole page, the whole page in your browser. This is the background image URL, and it's gonna points to the PNG file that's in our folder in here. So if we looked, TB under right there. So there's that image, okay? The background property defines all background options, including the use of multiple backgrounds in our article. All right. So background 2, 3, and 4 this is bottom right, 15%, no repeat, content box. The content box keyword specifies that the background extends only over the element content. So which article image was to the right? I think it was the elderly man. So let's just look and take, and it was, okay. And so the bottom left would have been the elderly woman. And then there's our back 4, and it says 100% cover. What does that cover mean? The cover keyword specifies that the background image should completely cover the background, right? So we looked at that in our picture, and it said the background 4 covers the entire article's padding space. So it's everywhere. It's in every inch of our article, or every pixel, I should say. All right. Every border is defined by its width, style, and color. So when we start doing borders, the body has a border left and a border right. So this is our body, and you can see the border left and the border right. It's a thin black line. And so you can see 51, 50, 51. We'll have to look, and it's probably black or dark gray, something like that. Let's see, the border radius, that's the 30 pixels right there, and the border 4 pixels double RGB 45. That's that aside that we looked at right here. Okay. All right, and then the border image. The border image property defines an image file used to create a graphic border. The URL points to one of our files in our folder, so you have to make sure it's there, tbborder.png. There it is, okay? And so we're laying a picture on top of this, and that makes that pretty border that looks like it's been tore out. The padding box keyword specifies that background extends through the padding space, and that was down there for our body. So I apologize, I missed that one. That just means, that our article probably has some padding within the CSS file, within the structure of the CSS file. And we're telling that background image to cover everything, cover the padding box and all. All right. Nice little overview right there. So we're going to create some figure boxes. So what are figure boxes and figure and fig caption elements? They are used by HTML to introduce structural elements. The fig caption element is optional. The fig caption element can be placed directly after a figure box content. So what are you going to put in a figure box content? The general syntax to create a figure box is figure, content, fig caption, and then there's your caption. The content is a lot of times an image, it can be a table, um, anything that you can place in there. So they're using an image, figure, image. While the figure element is used to contain an image file, it can also be used to mark any page content that you want to stand apart from the main content of an article. For instance, the figure element could contain a text excerpt as the following code demonstrates. So that's what I was just mentioning to you. Okay, so we're going to create a figure box. And you guys, even though I don't read this word for word, I know that some of them I do, but it's probably still good for you to go in and read the parts I leave out. So where our editor's open already, okay, and we've already opened our tutorial file. Matter of fact, that example file I did, I'm going to right click it and delete it. And I'm going to say move to recycle bin. Okay, so when I delete it from here, it's going to delete it from that main file. Just to double check and so you believe me, we'll go back to student and the tutorial. That example file is gone. Okay, just remember that as you're working in your Visual Studio Code. All right, so we're going to use our editor to open up this file. Don't ask me to pronounce that. TB underscore Komatsu dot text HTML. All right. Enter our name and date. So my name is Kristen Merritt. Can't spell my name tonight. Okay. Save it to as TB with a no. So you can see right here it's unsaved. We're going to go to File, Save As. Okay. Double check up here and make sure your file path is where you expect it to be. Is it going in that HTML04 tutorial folder that we've been looking for? It is. Right here's the original. Okay. So if I was to say save, it'll say, do you want to save changes over top of this? But I don't want to do that. So we're just going to come in here and rename this by getting rid of the TXT. I think I got rid of my dot too. And we'll click save. So now we have this one here and the original file is right above it. Okay, see that one does not have an author and date. This one does. Okay. So within the document head, insert the following elements to link the page to the TB Reset CSS page. Okay, remember our reset page from the last tutorial. What it does, it gives us a clean slate. Our TB Styles 1 right here. Okay, it's got the background color, our font family. It's kind of setting up kind of a little bit of the structure of our page. and the tvvisual1.css. So where's that one? Well, we haven't done that one yet, so that's the one we're going to work on right here, and we'll end up renaming it without the txt. So let me go on back to the HTML file right here. You guys go ahead and start typing those in. I'm going to do a shortcut to save time on the video. All right. Scroll down to the article element. That's here. Okay. Right here's our article element. And directly after the H1, that's here, directly after, so we can put an enter tab. And insert the following code for the figure box displaying the Komatsu family portrait. And we'll give you a minute to get that in, and I'm cheating, and I'm going to copy and paste. Take some time to review the content and structure of the rest of the document, and then save your changes. All right, so what do we have here? We have the head of our document, right? We're linking to some CSS files up here, our character set, UTEF, the title of our page is Tree and Book, the Komatsu family. Within our body, we have a header with some links and an image. We have some horizontal navs right here that have home, registry, directory, genealogy, search. We have our article with our header and the figure we just entered and our ending header tag. So we've got a section with a left column. We have an aside with an ID, family links. We have a footer that's vertical. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and open this up in my browser. Okay. So we can see not a whole lot is happening. Well, I haven't saved my changes yet, and I did that on purpose. So I'm just doing Control C because I've got the TXT out. From now on, I can just do File Save, or Control S. Okay, Control S is a shortcut. It's going to automatically save the changes to your current file. So let's refresh this page and see what we've done. So what's kicked in? Well, if I can find it, it's up here at the top. Right now, our reset style has kicked in, and that styles 1 has kicked in, okay? The structure of the page. So we're going to add all of that pretty stuff that it had to make it look like the page we seen at the beginning of our of the start of the tutorial. And I'm just going to bring up the finished file so we can do compare and stuff. So if you give me just a second, Web 210, solution files, tutorial. There it is. So there's the nice finished portrait. And you can see it's not real responsive, right? So we're just going to learn how to get these all in there. Good. So don't worry quite a whole lot about that right yet. So this is going to be our finished product. This is where we're at right now. Okay. All right, let's continue on. We're going to format and view the figure box. Use your editor to open the tvvisual1txt.css. Now I think I had already opened mine. Okay. So mine's right here. You find yours and open yours. Put your name and date. Oops, 4 time, I tell you. Now remember, do the file, save as, double check your navigation. Okay, this is your folder structure. Okay, we're where we want to be. Let's take out that TXT and the underscore and click save. So now we should have in our Explorer window over here a TV Visual 1.css and then our original. Okay, our original should not have our name or date. The one that we just saved should. Okay. So we're going to scroll down to the figure box styles, which is here, and you need to type in that code. Figure, margin 20 pixels, auto, and 0 pix. Okay. I'm watching myself this time, making sure I don't grab stuff that shouldn't be there before. And width 80%. Now, what is the auto and what is the 0 pix? This is what we call shorthand, okay? Let me see if I can bring up, let's just bring up Notepad. You can go to this website, w3schools.com. Anytime you see shorthand and you're not sure how it, what it means exactly, what it relates to. So this tells you exactly what it means if a margin has 3 values, okay? So what does it mean if a margin has 3 values? Well, normally you can do, well, not normally, you can do margin right, put a value, margin left, put a value, margin top, put a value, and margin bottom, put a value. Or you can put margin, value, 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 and it goes from top, right, bottom, left. It goes clockwise. So the first value would be your top margin, your second value would be your right, the third would be your bottom, and then the last one would be your left. When margin only has 3 values, your top margin is first. 50 pixels means that that's for both your right and left margins, and then your bottom margin is 75 pixels, okay? And I forget sometimes myself, so don't ever feel bad if you have to work. You might have to study it you can remember it right after this semester for a test if you needed to. But just always remember that if it had 4, it would go clockwise. And if it's 3, it goes clockwise, but then that middle one is both left and right, okay? All right, let's move along. What am I missing here? I'm missing my closing tag. Okay, and now add the following style to format the appearance of the image. So let's do that. Figure display block. And that just means it's going to be put in the same, it's going to be put in the same, where it's supposed to fall in the hierarchy. And it's going to be 100% of its parent. Okay? All right. And then finally insert the following rules for the figure fig caption. And that's got the background color. It's got your font family, the font style. It's got some padding with 2 figures. So let's talk about that for a second since we've talked about the margin. What is it if it just has 2 paddings? I'm sorry, 2 values. well, the top is going to be, use the top and bottom margins are going to be your first number, and the second number are going to be your left and right margins, okay? So that's what that padding will be right here. 10 pixels top and bottom, 0 left and right, okay? All right, so this is what you should have. You're going to file save, because we're saving what we've already done a save as. We're saving it to this file right here, okay? Let's see what we've got here. Let's see if ours looks like that. So here's our original. We're going to refresh it, and we do. Look, nice and pretty it is with a little caption up under it. All right. Exploring background styles. The use of images for backgrounds is supported by CSS using the following background style, background slash image. Now, this is talking, all right, let me back up. Be sure to read this. You need to know your files, because in order to make the URL work, you got to know what kind of picture you have. Do you have a PNG image? Do you have a JPEG image? So be sure to read all of that. That should have been something that you went over in your CTI 110 courses. There are GIFs now that, you know, and SVGs. These are just types of files that images can come in, okay? So I just wanted to make you aware of that before we move to background. All right, now we've got exploring background styles. The use of images for backgrounds is supported by CSS using the following background image style, okay? So you'll have your background image. It's got a slash in it, background slash image, URL, and then make sure you have your parentheses. And you, just like a regular href link, you've got to put the URL to the picture, to the image. Well, right now it's in the root folder, right? So we don't have to tell it to move up, move down, move to another directory. We just have to put the file image in there. Now, once you get to building bigger websites, you'll need to know a lot of times images are kept in a separate folder. So you would have to put in that URL right here. For example, you would have to put, it's in a folder called images, and then trees.png. Okay, that would be my URL. And what it would say, it was like, okay, I'm not in the same one as this HTML file. So say you have your HTML file is at the root. So index.html. Okay, so what you're telling your index HTML is that you need to go into this images folder first, and then you need to find that trees picture. All right. And this is just a little review from CTI 110. And I think when I was talking about, did I say CIS 110? Anyway, it doesn't matter. All right. So, URL specifies the name and location of the background image. So, once we get that background image, what can we do with it? Okay, so you can tile a background. Tiling is the process of repeating an image both vertically, okay, that's up and down, and horizontally until the entire background is filled. All right, so here's you an example. That's tiled both vertically and horizontally. Okay, image is tiled horizontally, repeat X, so it's just going to repeat X one time. Repeat Y. Y is, if you remember in your math, vertically, your X and Y axis. The type of tiling can be specified by that background repeat. Okay, so image is not tiled, it's just there. This background image right here is called repeat round. And this background image is tiled and space is added to fit the container a whole number of times. So that one's called background repeat space. Okay, there's just different things you can do with them. And this is your reference for adding a background image. Okay, so now let's do it to it. We're going to return to our TV Visual 1.css file. I'm going to close my reset file right there. Okay. Defining. Go to the HTML style section right here and add the following. So we'll add HTML because that's going to be our whole page, right? Background image. URL. TB underscore dot. Oh, look at me. All right, back one dot png. All right, you see code does some pretty cool stuff for us, right? It added in. So let's note that because you are using the default setting for tiling image, you do not need to include the background repeat because it said up here that that's the default, right? Where type, because the process of filling the floor and certain, it's just the background repeat is just the automatic type of a background image. And if you want to change the repeat and do any of these 4, 5, then you have to put the background repeat in and specify which one you want. Okay. Alrighty. So what did it do? We should have this nice little, now we've got a dot right here and it says 1 unsaved. So we're going to make sure we say file save. We're going to go back and refresh it. And it's not working. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's doing anything. But remember, this page is not that responsive. So what we need to do to see if our changes have made, and of course, if you just finish reading it, it says, note that the page body covers part of the tiled images in the browser window. So what we need to do, we need to maximize it. So there's our tiled images. And so it's just tiled all everywhere. So let's restore this back. All right. Attaching the background image. A background image is attached to its element so that it scrolls when the element content is scrolled. So what's an element? Remember, you got to remember the key terms. This is always where I would get confused when learning this stuff. So our element can be our side, our section, our header, things like that. The attachment can be changed by the following property: background attachment type. Okay, where type is scroll the default, fixed, or local. Okay, so what are these? The fixed type creates a background that stays in place even as the element content is scrolled horizontally or vertically. Fixed backgrounds are sometimes used to create watermarks, which are translucent graphics displayed behind the content with a message that the content material is copyrighted or in a draft form or some other message directed to the reader. The local type is similar to scroll, except that it is used for elements such as scroll boxes to allow the element background to scroll along with the content within the box. All right, setting background image position. By default, background images are placed in an element's top left corner. The following property can be used to set the position of the background image. Background position horizontal, vertical, where horizontal and vertical provide the coordinates, okay, your X and Y position of an image within the element background. Keywords to position, let me scroll down right here. Keywords to position a background image are as follows. Left, center, and right are used to position the background horizontally. Top, center, and bottom are used to position the background vertically. The background position property is only useful for non-tiled images. Okay, so we kind of know that, right? Because if they're tiled, they're everywhere. An element's background extends only through the padding space, excluding the border space. This can be changed using the following property, background clip type. Okay. Type in the background clip property. Content type extends the background only through the element content. Padding box extends the background through the padding space. I like it when they have some images here, but they don't. Border box extends the background through the border space. Sizing and clipping an image. By default, the size of a background image equals the size stored in its image file. So if you've ever looked at an image file, so we can give you an example of what they're talking about. Student data files, HTML4 tutorial. So we'll just bring up this one. And if you were to go right click and click properties and go to details, right here it tells you how big that picture is. This one's 449 by 335 pixels. Okay. So that's what it means by that. The size can be changed by using the following property. Background size, width, height, where width and height can be specified in pixels, or by using the keywords auto, cover, and contain. Now, if you remember from looking at our article, the background image in the article at the beginning of the page had the keyword cover. But these are the types of example background size types that I like. So this is the original. This image is resized to fill the background, but part of the image is cropped. Okay. And this image is resized so that it is contained within the element, but part of the background is left uncovered. Okay. So there's your reference to be able to do that. So you've got our background property. Different background options can be organized using the following properties. Your background color URL, position, size, repeat attachment, origin clip, URL, position, size, repeat, attachment, background. Those are just the different types of properties we can use for the background element. Okay, we've already discussed, you know, the repeat, the URL, and this is kind of a shorthand. This is the shorthand for it, like we talked about earlier for margins and padding. All right. So now we get to add the background image to the page article. So return to our Visual 1 CSS file. Okay. And under article styles, do article. So there's our URL, bottom right, 15%, no repeat. Look at me, I can't spell. Content box. So what are we telling it to do? Don't forget to add your semicolon. Okay, right here. That's what we're telling it to do. This is our image file that we're going to use. This is where we're going to place the image at in the lower right corner, the bottom right, okay? This sets the width. I didn't realize you had to put a backspace in it. Sets the width of the image to 15% of the article width, okay? No repeat, so do not tile the image. And content box positions the image with respect to the article content, okay? Save your changes and then reload to see if it did what we needed it to do. So we're going to File, Save. Now remember, this one isn't responsive at all, so I'm going to make it big. And there he is. So I bet we do the same thing for the elderly lady, right? But she's going to be bottom left. So let's see what they want us to do. Adding multiple backgrounds, background 1, background 2, you can do that. Multiple backgrounds can be added to a single element by listing the backgrounds in the following comma-separated list. So you just, the background 1 will have something, background 2 will have something, and it'll just be a list. Background 1, background 2, okay? Let's add a background image to the page article. So this is going to be, we're going to add the little lady. So what we're going to do, we're going to go type a comma instead of a semicolon right here. Okay, that's a period, Miss Merritt. And hit your enter key. And then do URL. And our background is TB underscore back 3. Okay. .png. She's going to be bottom left. She's also going to be 15%. No repeat. And then a content box. And we'll be using the content box. Okay. Comma. So we've got a third one. That's going to be our big article one. TB underscore back 4 dot PNG. %100 of the article. Cover, that was that keyword, right? No repeat. And comma, because then we have our fourth right there, which is the fallback of the fallback color if the images don't. So there we go. Okay, we can use our scroll bar. Okay. So far we've only worked with content, padding, and margin spaces from the CSS box model. Now we'll examine the border space that separates the element's content and paddings from its margins and essentially marks the extent of the element as it is rendered on the page. Okay. Setting border width and color. There are several types of properties that can be used to format the border around each element using CSS. To define the thickness of a specific border, the following property can be used. Border dash side dash width. Side is either top, right, bottom, or left. So it would be right, border, right dash top, border dash right, border dash bottom is what that means. Sometimes the wording for these can be tricky. And width is the width of the border in pixels. So right there is that bottom right there can be replaced with top, left, or right. Okay. Or it can be all four of them. And then it's the shorthand right here, border width 10, 20. That's top and bottom, left and right. Okay. Always start with top. And remember, if it's got 2 or 3, 2 means this is the top and bottom. This is left and right. 3 means the top and the middle would be left and right. And then the bottom would be the last number. If it's only one number and it has border width, that's for everyone, okay? Right there, top, right, bottom, and left. If it's just one. If it's just border width. Sorry, I think I'm getting tired. All right. So you can set the border design. The appearance of borders can be further defined by using the following styles. We've got solid, dash, dotted, double, outset, insert, groove, ridge, or none. We can say, border style none. You can specify all 4 sides of the border. Or any 4 of the corners can be, just have one line. You can also, we've got border radius, and that's rounding the corners. Border radius, top left, top right, bottom left, and then you've got the pixels. How many pixels do you want to curve it? So you can see here, it's giving you an example of the radii. Okay. And so remember, that's border radius. And it also has a horizontal vertical, 80, 150. You can use %. Okay, let's add that. To add rounded corners to an element, return to our TB Visual 1. So in our aside, did we ever do an aside? Or did I skip a part? Sorry. I must have skipped a part. So we're going to add, go ahead and we'll go back and we'll add our border. I got ahead of myself right here. Okay. Please forgive me. So we're going to add the following style rules to the page body. That's up one. So let's go body, make our curlies, border left, 1 pixel. I want the type to be solid and the color to be a RGB 51, 51, 51. Okay, close your semicolon. And then we want our border right to be 1 pixel wide, solid, with the RGB of the same color. Spelled duck sauce in my keyboard the other night while I was working. I know my commas and my period, they sometimes don't like to be pressed. So if you hear me slam my finger on the thing, I'll know the key. It's because it's sticky with duck sauce. All right, let's add our border to our side element. That's that little green element down here. Okay. So we'll do a side border. We want it 4 pixels wide all the way around. We want it the style to be double, and we want the color to be a RGB 45, 93, 62. Don't forget your semicolon. Okay. All right. We can go ahead and refresh this if you want to see what we did. Oh, well, I have to save it first, right? Save file first, Miss Merritt. There's our double. All right, we have to make it big to see what we did with the body right there. Very thin lines. Okay. All right, now let's create our round corners. We talked about how to do that. So our side, we want our border radiuses to be 50 pixels and 20 pixels. Let's see if it's the same down here. It wants it to be 30 pixels on all 4 corners. Okay, so we'll come down here to the side, do border radius, and we want it 30 pixels. And we're going to save it and say what it should do is just what it talks about right here. Okay, it's going to take 30 pixels out from the lower, from each corner, and it's going to round that. Okay, so we can refresh this because I saved the page, and you can see where it rounded it. Just clips those and makes it pretty. That's an elongated corner. That would be if you needed to make ovals. I didn't explain that before earlier. Okay. Applying a border image. So remember that's what's under this one. If you ever scrapbooked before, you used to take the little pieces of paper and make borders or mats for your pictures. A border image is a border based on a graphic image. The graphic image is sliced into 9 sections representing the 4 corners, the 4 sides, and the interior piece. The content of the object appears in the interior piece, and this piece is discarded. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. Slices are stretched to match the image border. There's your frame. Okay, your frame's around here. So what we need to do to apply a border image, the four corners become the corners of the border. The four sides are either stretched or tiled to fill in the border's top, right, bottom, and left sides. A border image is applied using the following property. Border image, where we'll do the URL, and then we tell it to slice is the width or height of the slices used to create the sides and the corners, and repeat indicates whether the slices should be stretched or tiled to cover the border's four sides. The repeat option supports the following values: stretch, repeat, round, and space. Okay? So let's see that in action down here. We're in our visual, right? It's going to be on the side. No, it's our article. It's going to be right here. It's telling us add the following style rule to the figure box. So that is up here. Okay. Border style. Solid. Border width, 25%. Border image, you need your URL. The 50 is how much the slice is going to be. Okay. And remember, the slice is going to be how much it goes in right there. Okay. All right. Let's save it and see what it does. Ain't that pretty? All right. Be sure to read your pro skills. Okay. All right, guys. That's session 4.1. We'll come back to do session 4.2. And I hope you've gained, I've explained things that to help you get through the tutorials a little better. See you next time.